as for like favorite moments, I just say coming down to the bottom every now and then and just seeing new people there watching, like kind of hype me up a bit and just be like, oh, cool, this person came out to see us, nice. Having all the neighbors in the area just sit out in their golf carts and kind of just watch was pretty cool. Like no idea who they were, but they got into it, which was nice. And better having them into it than not wanting a bunch of people hanging out on their streets and just blocking traffic or whatever. So that was good. And then, I mean, yeah, just there's so many laps, it's hard to like choose my favorite moment because they all seem kind of the same, but it's probably mainly that. Or every time I got to the Costco muffin point, that was a pretty good point.
Little things in life.
Yeah, it's just little things.
Cool. So yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself and what you achieved just recently.
Yeah, my name is Colin Patterson, and I just got I think the world record for the most vertical ascent on bicycle in 24 hours.
Right on. So yeah, so the first question that comes to my mind is why? Why would you want to do something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people have asked me that. It was part of Peter Stetna's fundraiser for the High Five Foundation to raise money for injured athletes. And I was going to do that, not necessarily a particular record or whatever, but then a teammate of mine suggested that I go for the record. I'm thinking it was maybe possible. And so I figured if I'm ever going to do something like that, I might as well do it for a good reason. And this event seemed like a good time to do it, I guess. Never done anything near that long before. So very
so like, have you been riding more just now since with all the COVID stuff going on, you're just on your bike more, or?
Maybe a little bit. Like I was working at a bike shop up until recently, and we were pretty much open the whole time. Like reduced hours a little bit, but still super busy. So I had like maybe a little bit more free time, but not a crazy amount. And then yeah, with like all the Everesting that was happening everywhere and general longer rides, it I guess kind of worked out. And I wouldn't say I was training for this, but
Gotcha.
I don't know how much you can really.
That's crazy. So what were you thinking about while you were doing your 24-hour, 23-hour effort? Was there it was the same thing that went through your head? Was it just like the different pitches and how steep the grade was in certain sections, so it was just turning over the pedals? Or were you thinking of like humming a song in your head? Or was it like, what was going through your head for that long?
Luckily I didn't need to focus too much on like the grade or anything, because it was so steep. I could only go just kind of this one speed really, or only so slow. So just kind of grinding that out the whole time. But I guess I was just, most of the time I just tried to zone out just to hopefully make things go faster. I didn't listen to music or anything or podcasts. I thought about that at the beginning, but I didn't want to have any sort of like technical issues that would just get me pissed and then not in a good mood for the rest of the ride. And so just kind of zoned out, daydreamed, I guess. Tried to do like just the math and the calculations. Like, okay, I'm this far into the ride. I've done this many feet. Like, where might I end up? And so that kept me busy a lot of the time, just trying to figure that out. And then, yeah, there was a surprising amount of people out there to like kind of cheer me on. So that was nice to see that. And a lot of people just hiking up and down the road. So talk to them kind of as I'd go by, and nice saying hi to them. Just a very friendly neighborhood, luckily.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then what was your nutrition like what'd you eat for 23 hours?
I tried to break it down just throughout the whole ride, just to try to make sure I stayed on top of eating and all that. I had a few Costco muffins, just kind of split up throughout the day. I figured that would be tasty enough and I'd want to eat that, which was, yeah, luckily I did. And they're just super calorie dense. Then I had some like fig bars throughout it, and then some like electrolyte mix. No super heavy drink or anything like that, just something lighter. And then as we got closer towards we're in the second half, we're closer to the end, just as much sugar and some caffeine and stuff, just whatever I felt like I could stomach. The nutrition plan I came up with kind of just fell apart at that point. It's just like, I think I can eat this right now. At one point I felt really good. I was just like, what do we have to eat? Pizza? Okay, great. I'll eat that. Just to get something in me. And yeah, that was, it worked. I mean, I didn't feel like I ran out of energy, surprisingly. So that was really good.
Cool. And then did you, so like you mentioned about a little bit on the food plan, did you have very many plans in place going into this? Were you just kind of like seeing how it went or were you trying to hit like every hour, have this many feet accomplished? Were you trying to keep a pace?
Um, Kind of like I calculated it out to like what I wanted to get, not really knowing how I would do, just since I've never done anything that long. I had what I was hoping for, but with it being such a short climb, I think it was harder to kind of keep track of your pace a little bit too. Just since you're doing so many reps, you lose track of what lap you're on, and it not like they lined up perfectly with every hour or two. So it's just saying like, roughly 27 to 2800 an hour maybe, or yeah, I think that'd be it, and that kind of just adds up. And then yeah, I just was kind of breaking it down as I went. I knew roughly what I did if I wanted to get the record, but more just kind of focusing on surviving at least some of the time.
Gotcha. And then would you do it again?
Yeah. If definitely would need better gearing. I hope I don't have to do that again. I am doing a 24-hour race in October if it happens. And that will be a very flat one, which will be nice. So I'll be able to coast occasionally and not have to just grind the whole time, because that was the hardest part, I think, is just I had pretty good gearing, but not nearly what I needed for that steep of a climb for that long.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then so if I wanted to go do that, what recommendations would you have to me as someone that's rides bike occasionally? I do a little bit of road, a little bit of mountain. Like I know kind of what that pain feels like, but I don't know if I can endure for 23 hours. So in a perfect world, I'm stoked about doing this. What would you tell me after just doing it? What would you say would be like, do this, don't do this, sort of like that kind of stuff?
Maybe reconsider not doing it. But otherwise, just really focus on not going hard. Because at the beginning, it's going to feel kind of stupidly easy. Like, why am I running this slow? I know I can go harder, but you really just have to maintain that pace and just stick to it. Because it'll really affect you later on, even though you're going to feel super fresh for a while. It's going to feel like a normal ride. But then you'll just get tired out. And then just staying on top of eating. Like I'd say I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't really know, but I'd say try to eat as much real food kind of at the beginning as you can, just because your stomach's going to get destroyed later on with all the sugar and caffeine you'll probably just end up eating. And so staying on top of that and eating consistently. I'd say maybe a good idea to have actual meals, but if you can't stomach it, just like gradually having that throughout the day, and just staying on top of that really, and hydration of course too. If it's really hot, that makes it a lot harder. Luckily I didn't have that hot of a day. It was pretty nice out, so both during the day and at night it wasn't too cold either.
And were you pretty happy with the grade and the hill that you picked, or would you have picked a different climb?
I was pretty happy with it. When I had Everested in the past, I did a little bit of a longer climb in town, and that one was pretty good for it. This one was definitely quite a bit steeper, and I think that just made it a lot more efficient. Still a pretty fast descent. I had like one kind of long curve to it, and that was about it. And so that made it pretty fast laps overall. And then it was also a climb I've done maybe twice before, so I wasn't already over it, or it was still pretty new to me. The scenery was new, whatever, and I don't have to go do it again. So that's good. It's not like it's a main climb. I'm going to go out and ride a lot in general, so I can take a break from it or never do it again. Won't really bother me.
Gotcha. And then what was the other thing I was going to ask you? Oh, like what was your favorite part of that day that you did? Was it a time in the evening when there was, or did you 23 hours? You're riding at night then for a little bit. You had some lights on then.
Yeah. Yeah. So running at night was pretty interesting. Like I've done early morning rides and late night rides, but nothing like truly at night really. So running in the dark and descending fast like that was kind of interesting. I had quite a few close calls with animals, which was kind of sketchy for a while, but got on top of that. And as for like favorite moments, I just say coming down to the bottom every now and then and just seeing new people there watching, like kind of hype me up a bit and just be like, oh, cool, this person came out to see, that's nice. Having all the neighbors in the area just sit out in their golf carts and kind of just watch was pretty cool. Like no idea who they were, but they got into it, which was nice. And better having them into it than not wanting a bunch of people hanging out on their streets and just blocking traffic or whatever. So that was good. And then, I mean, yeah, just there's so many laps. It's hard to like choose my favorite moment because they all seem kind of the same. But it's probably mainly that. Or every time I got to the Costco muffin point, that was a pretty good point.
Little things in life.
Yeah, it's just little things.
So did this change your like experience with the bike? I mean, you've ridden before. You are a long time cyclist. Like, do you find this a new appreciation for the machine, or is it like just another day on the bike, just with more
not exactly another day on the bike, but it's opened up like a new sort of interest for me, I guess. Like it shows that like, oh, I could do these long distance things if I wanted to pursue that at all, and maybe open up more events for me to go check out kind of. But yeah, I mean, I'm impressed by just how like I was able to handle it as well as just the bike too, doing that over and over again, I guess. And not really, the only, I guess, mechanical issue I kind of had was brakes towards the end a little bit. We swapped out some pads, just hitting that bottom turnaround, just kind of starting to burn them out a little bit. But it did kind of show me like, oh wow, I have the patience to just kind of ride my bike for a really long time and still enjoy it and all of that. So that was nice.
Very cool. And then you didn't sleep at all through all that.
No,
So
yeah. No sleep. I think I took maybe 40 minutes of breaks total, roughly, like full bathroom breaks and eating and sunscreen and stuff like that and changing. So, oh yeah, not maybe think of like as a kid, like playing all nighters, playing video games, stuff like that. That's the only other time where I've really like done a full, day of being awake, kind of. And the day before, I got off work, basically just went home at 5, ate quickly, and tried to go to bed, and I got like 4 or 5 hours of sleep maybe. So not a whole lot of lead up into it. If it was another normal 24-hour event, maybe start at like noon or something, or 8, to where like you get that full night's sleep beforehand. That'd probably make it a little easier, but you got to go with it.
Very cool. But yeah, thanks Colin for your time.
Yeah.